So a couple important notes. I wrote them down. Maybe you want to write them down to remember. So this is going to be very important, and the main reason that we always factor first. These ones are already factored for us, so it doesn't come into play. But we can only simplify or cancel, sometimes we say that word, when we're multiplying. Also important to remember all of your fraction rules. So how do you multiply fractions? You multiply the tops with the tops, bottoms with the bottoms. How do you divide? You multiply by the reciprocal, or keep the first one the same, change the sign to multiply, and flip the second one. So it's important that we remember all of our fraction rules from previous years, because we're going to be doing a lot of fraction rules coming up. But what this means when simplified, and I am multiplying everything here. So we can do some simplification right in this question. And sometimes you might want to color code this, or sometimes you might want to take some more steps, because if you try to do too much, sometimes we get lost. So I'm going to try to color code this when I'm doing one thing at a time. Okay? First of all, I'm going to look at my numbers. I have 2/9, that fraction can't be simplified. I have 3/5, that fraction can't be simplified. But when we're multiplying, before I multiply this out and write like 6/45, which I could do that, that's not wrong, I notice though that a 3 on the top could simplify with a 9 on the bottom. They won't cancel out completely, but 3/9 is the same as 1/3. So when you're simplifying and with fractions and you're multiplying, you can simplify within a fraction, but you can also simplify between the fractions. Because everything's multiplied. Technically, this is like one big fraction line all the way through with multiplication signs in between there. So I can simplify that 3 and that 9 to be 1/3. So first of all, I would look through my numbers and see if there's any numbers that I can simplify. And those were the only ones that I saw, because 2 and 5 doesn't simplify anymore. So I did that in purple. Now I'm going to look at my variables. Do I have the same variable on the top of my fraction in my numerator and in the bottom of my fraction? Yes. Do you see you have a's on the top and a's on the bottom? You have more a's on the bottom. So this one on the top is going to get canceled or simplified. How many a's are we going to be left with on the bottom? 1. So I can stroke out that 2 and put a 1, or sometimes people just stroke it out and just assume there's a 1 there. You can choose how you'd like to do that. Now at this point, what's left? Well, for numbers on the top, I have a 2 times a 1. On the top, I'm left with a 2. For my variables on the top, I still have a b squared. On the bottom with my numbers, I have a 3 and a 5. That leaves me with 3 times 5, 15. And variables on the bottom, I have an a. Okay. Again, at the bottom, yes, they do. At the bottom, they put a comma and also list the non-permissible value. On quizzes and tests, I will be very explicit and say, and state the non-permissible value. So if you had just left the fraction right here in the blue circle, I would have given you full marks for this question, because I didn't explicitly say, state the non-permissible values. Okay, but it's good practice. We'll do it because the textbook has that answer at the bottom. It's good practice for us to see that. Yes?
In the textbook, they also put a 1 to the a. Do we have to, or can we just leave the 1?
No, like they have a little exponent of 1 there? Yeah, I actually, well, that's the comma.
That's the comma?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so no, I wouldn't put a 1 there. You could if you wanted it. It's sort of implied by being there. Okay, so part B. I'll rewrite the question. 2x squared, x plus 2 over 3x times by 5, x minus 4 over 8x x plus 2. Nice, they factored things for us. So by having this 2x squared out in front of the brackets of the x plus 2, it was like a common factor was already pulled out. It's nice when things are factored completely. Okay, So, in the same method as the last one, I'm gonna tell you what you're probably going to do. Maybe I wanted to start with the numbers, but guaranteed when you see this, do you see any factors that are identical already? Do you see that the x plus 2 is on the top and there's an x plus 2 on the bottom? You would probably immediately, that's probably the first thing you'd be excited about doing, which is, I'll do it first as well. You see something in your numerator that's exactly the same in your denominator, and you're multiplying. This is the important thing. This is all multiplied, and the brackets hold something together. If you have that identical factor in brackets on the bottom, you can cancel it out. All right, do we have anything else that you would cancel out? Maybe I'll do this in the same color. Do you see you have an x squared on the top, which is 2 x's? And you see that you have an x here and an x there? That would be like an x squared on the bottom. So I would probably say the next thing you would most likely do is cancel those out or simplify an x squared on the top with 2 x's or an x times x, which is x squared on the bottom. Are you okay when I said 2 x's, but it's really x times x? It's not a 2 in front of an x? Good. Now, what we had started with on the last one was with numbers. Can we simplify any of these numbers? 2 over 3, no. 5 over 8, no. But then if you look across the fractions, do you see that the 2 over the 8 could be reduced? The purple line through that one, purple line, 2 over 8 would reduce to 1 over 4. This is a unit that you have to kind of be neat, because if you are not neat, or you are a little bit careless, or you don't use colors or something like that, if you just use pencil marks, it can get very messy very quickly, and then you're like, I don't know what I have left. I just destroyed my work, and now I have to decide what's left. So I'm going to go to the equal sign. What's left for numbers in my numerators? I have a 1 times a 5, which is a 5. What's left for factors in my numerator? Okay, simplified, canceled out. I just have an x minus 4. The bottom, what's left for numbers? I have a 3 and a 4. We're multiplying, so that will make a 12. Am I left with any variables? Canceled out, canceled out. No, everything is canceled out. And again, the textbook would have looked at the original equation and said, is there anything that would cause you to divide by 0? Can you see that in the first fraction? If x is 0, that would be bad. In the second fraction, x is 0 is bad again. But we also have -2 would be bad. So those would be your non-permissible values in this question. Okay. Circle 3, circle 5a, circle 6a and b, and 11a. Technically, I'll get you to circle more of 6 and 11 and 5 later, but for right now, just those ones.